Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to the Hearthmind Challenge Series. This week it is number 30 of our challenge series, and first today we're going to be bringing you the third place match, which will be between Jimber 27 and Conrad. Conrad actually was the second place finisher in this past week's ESL series, so this definitely should be an interesting match to watch. And I am joined tonight by Alex DeBoss of Team Hearthmind and Balak Askier Watson. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. Very exciting series so far.
Gotta stay up to watch these matches, though.
Yeah, the tournament itself, this week we're actually running the Conquest format, which is going to be the official format of the World Championship this year, which Blizzard recently announced. So we were very excited to get out there and try this, and this is actually the first tournament I've seen. I haven't seen anybody else do it yet running this format, and so far, I mean, I'm impressed by it. Like, I actually like it over the Last Hero Standing that was kind of the standard for quite some time. What do you guys think?
I absolutely love it. It prevents the sweeps with one deck. It forces players to practice and be good with multiple decks. I am in love with this format, to be honest. I would like to do it from now on, see it get popularized, which I think it will, considering it's going to be used in the World Championships.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
It really helps reward players that prepare.
yeah, and I would go along with what you said there, Yaskir, that with it being the official format of Blizzard's, that they've basically said they've adopted it as kind of their house format, I think we're going to see more and more tournaments picking it up. Because, like you've seen with ESL, like they kind of were trying to find something else that gave a little bit more balance than the rock, paper, scissors that you got a lot of times out of the Last Hero Standing format. So I think we're going to start to see this more and more. But like you said, I would definitely like to see it in the Hearthmind tournaments going forward as well.
I think it makes a lot of weird decks viable because they're so unexpected and you don't know what your opponent's gonna pull out. So it's gonna be fun to see people play Demon Lock in big Blizzard tournaments. Can't wait.
Yeah,
Well, we'll
and
see what
go ahead.
what our uh, s- third place match players bring tonight. We know that Conrad is bringing a Paladin, Druid, and a Mage, and Jember 27 is bringing a Mage, Druid, and Warlock. So they have two of the same classes and only have one different. Looks like they're queuing up to start the games right now.
All right, so we'll get ready to jump right in there.
I think you would be hard pressed to find a person in this tournament that wasn't running Mage and Druid.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're both strong classes right now, where they deal with most of the field. Like they don't have any like terrible matchups, like really polarized. And you know, this it's a new format too. So I mean, people are probably going to try to stick to the things that they know, the things that are safe.
Well, with Mech Mage, the only really good counter to it, at least on ladder, is a Priest, which really isn't that great of a tournament deck. And Druid has always been the class that was very good against everything. It never had a really hard counter, so it's an easy pick. Those two classes.
And speaking of that, it looks like that's what we're going to see first: the Druid versus the Mage here.
A Druid is always a good opener because it doesn't really have a hard counter. People say that Mech Mage is a good counter to the Druid. We'll see if that's true in these series. But it really always hovers around that 50% against everything. So it's good to start with. And Mech Mage is just proven to be so strong recently. I'm not surprised to see it in the first game.
I'm one of the people on the bandwagon that believes that Mech Mage counters Druid. So I'm leaning towards the Mage winning this one, but the hand of the Mage isn't looking fantastic.
Yeah, it's really not the greatest. Because I mean, he has the Mech Warper, but he doesn't really have anything to, like, he doesn't have that Clockwork Gnome or, you know, to drop down right with it there.
Mhm.
It would be an awkward turn.
And we've learned on ladder. I don't know the exact deck that Conrad is running, but I'm gonna assume that the two secrets he has are Mirror Entity. And if he does try to get his Mirror Entity on board with the Scientist, we see the Keeper of the Grove in the hand of Jimber, which is almost a counter to it, because you're giving an opponent 2/4, which is not a great body, without the battle cry.
Yeah, and even the other option, the Shade, is not a particularly good mirror entity pull either. I mean, you could sit on it and let it grow, but when you're facing a druid, you really want the mirror entity a little bit later. I tend to go with, in my opinion, because that way you're going to be copying things like the Keepers, the Druids of the Claw, stuff that really Mech Mage kind of lacks, those larger, mid-rangey creatures.
And you can't
I
really sit on a Shade against a Druid, because the Druid's late game is way better than the Mech Mage's.
I would say that you want to get the mirror entity out pretty fast because the minions won't be as good, yeah, but they will snowball. They'll be in effect faster. So you can get the minions, get the value while you're still in your prime trying to win the game in the early game like a mech mage is.
So would you, knowing it's a Mirror Entity, we can assume it is, uh, would you, well, we see he hasn't done it, but would you play the Shade to give him a weaker creature?
Mm,
Or would you wait for the Keeper?
I would have played the Shade.
Yeah, because you look at the secret, it's something you're going to have to deal with eventually, and the longer you wait, the higher mana cost creatures you're going to be playing, so essentially the larger tempo swing you're giving to your opponent.
Well, ideally it would be a Zombie Chow. I'm not sure if Jimber is running it in his deck, but that's the ideal thing you want to give the Mech Mage. Basically
Yeah.
healing yourself for
Zombie Chow
5.
one. The question is if he has a second one.
I personally hate playing the Technician as a 3/3.
Yeah, so he does give him the 2/4 there, which isn't really a bad deal, I don't think, for the mage, because now you look at the comparison of the boards. He's got multiple turn 4 plays here to choose from, and he could eliminate the Keeper as well.
And he's finally gaining board control, which is really crucial with this Mage deck. The thing is, it's getting late on turns, and depending on what flavor this Druid is, we can expect a lot of taunts to start popping up soon. That's going to be an issue for the Mech Mage.
Yeah, and he does have the Fireball in hand to deal with some type of taunt if he has to. But aside from that, he really isn't holding much in the way of activators for the Archmage, aside from the one spare part he's going to get from the Yeti here.
From the look of the list so far, it looks exactly like Colento's list from last season, which I believe Colento's still playing this season. So he would have 2 Fireballs and the Archmage.
Okay, so he does have a good amount of reach then against the Druid, even past the taunts, if he has the extra Fireballs in there that he could throw out without having to use them as fuel for Archmage Ananitas.
It's true, but at this point in the game, where you're going into turn 5, the Druid's sitting at 33, where he's going to be sitting at 31 health. That's not where you want him. You already want some face damage done. This is the exact list that I'm personally laddering with this season, so I have some expertise with it. And this is a deck that Case plays kind of like Zoo. You need to have that early board control, and you need to snowball with it. Against a Druid, you need more damage than 8 damage by turn 6.
Yeah, we'll see. Wait. Looks like he's going for the Yeti. I was thinking he was looking at cycling here.
Well, the Druid needs to get board control back. And looking at the Mage hand right now, once he does get board control back, the Mage's hand is going to be fairly slow.
It looks like Wrath for cycle plus swipe plus trade in the Shade. It clears the board and you draw a card.
And I like that play a lot, like I said. the druid needs to get board control back, and from there he's looking pretty good.
Yeah, though he is coming into it's a Dr. Boom he's going to be facing down against. It looks like on turn 7. So it's not like he's out of the woods completely here.
Oh no, this is still anybody's game. But this turn really doesn't look exciting for the mage. Well, that drop actually makes it a little bit better if he decides to play it.
Yeah, so the spider tank doesn't really offer him much help.
Next turn you can mech warper with double spider tanks, so it's an option.
Now, do you like that over the Dr. Boom play there? You like the 2 spider tanks?
I think it's worth considering, basically because Dr. Boom is best when there's other minions on the opponent's board, because they can actually hit things that are good. So you could always save Dr. Boom for later, get minions out, and then once the opponent has a board, it'll be difficult to clear the bombs, and Dr. Boom would be in a better spot.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say that
I was done.
he also too he hasn't seen any big game hunters, so
Ooh, sneaks.
he could be
That's what
avoiding
I was
that
going
as
to say.
well.
That Dr. Boom is risky because a big game hunter really swings the game into the druid's favor, whereas 2 spider tanks are not going to be dealt with that easy.
I think he's going to go for swarming the board with mechs here rather than Dr. Boom.
Yeah, especially with adding the Clockwork Gnome into the mix. Oh,
Well, guess
Whoever-
not.
It makes
Which we can
sense.
see that there's no BGH on the other side, so it's going to be a good play. But
Yeah.
it is risky because if the BGH was there, that would very favor the druid.
but he
It's
did.
better than GH. It always steals the 7/7. Oh, never mind.
That is very true. I feel like I get that in my games too. Anytime somebody plays an MC tech against me, it always takes exactly what I don't want it to. Be it like the 7/7 Dr. Boom or Tyrion if he's out on the board. It never takes the crappy 1/1 token.
It's worth noting that we have a very good clear option, not for this turn, but for the following turn. Well, he's going to clear Dr. Boom anyways, but we have the taunt spare part plus the Black Knight on Jimber's hand.
That's interesting. That's quite lucky, actually. He may use that to clear an Archmage Antonitis.
And that's not something the mage is going to play around because, I mean, what are the odds?
I don't know how many spare parts, but I think it's something like 1 in 6 or 1 in 8.
Yeah, and you figure 1 spare part out of everything that he's gotten, and he happens to get that one, so it's...
And it happens to have the Black Knight in hand. It's
Yeah.
not something that the mage is going to play around.
For sure.
Is it turn to bring out Archmage already? I personally don't think so, but you think he's going to do it?
I like flooding the board with the mechs here, because the Druid has a considerable board there, so it's getting to the point where you can't really ignore it, especially with the potential of Savage Roar. So I think building up his own board, trading the Boombot in, see what you can hit with it, would probably be my approach to this.
Well, there's 2 ways to go about this. Since the druid is at 18 health, you can either go YOLO and try to just hit him in the face with everything and try to get those fireballs rolling, or play safer, play around the combo, and try to gain board control once again. Which looks like what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and that is a lot of mechs right there.
This is pretty important.
Both got terrible bombs.
Yeah.
The bombs pretty much didn't do anything.
Made the Drake die to hero power and swipe.
Did he play the second swipe? I know we've seen one from him.
I don't believe so.
So it looks like it's going to be Sneeds here coming out.
It's quite a slow play.
Yeah, it's risky. I would say. I think I would have, especially sitting at 18 health. I think I would have liked the Sludge Belcher better there, or the Ancient to heal a little bit. Because what does he have with the Fireball?
Well, this way, he's gonna get Kel'Thuzad when it dies, which he's gonna have to fireball it to kill it, and then he gets Kel'Thuzad, and then he resummons Sneeds.
Well, he's not Kit Kats, so we're not sure that's going to happen.
I'm pretty sure that's what Sneeds does 100% of the time.
Or, you do have the occasional Ragnaros too. You can't forget that
yeah.
option.
Okay. Well, Kel'Thuzad's better.
Okay, so now it's either the option of clearing Sneeds and hoping it turns out to be a 1-1,
Or Nat Pagel.
or not Pagel, yes.
Or Blood Mage. That's another fun one that comes out of there sometimes.
I think that's what he was referring to when he said
Yes, with the 1-1.
Ah,
Lorewalker Cho would make this all of a sudden very interesting with the fireball and 2 spare parts in hand.
that would honestly completely change the face of the match.
I've lost
That would
so
be a
many
terrible draw for the mage.
I got Cho off of a portal and played it, and my opponent played very well and forced me to give them good cards. I don't like that card. It's messed me up too many times.
And you don't have the option of getting rid of it. It's a 0-4, you can't attack with it.
That's why it was bad.
Yeah, it's really a funny card because I don't know, anytime I've ever tried to play a deck with it, it always seems like it ends up backfiring on me more than it does working for me. Because it's one of those, you look at it, in theory it sounds like it would do good, but it just doesn't seem to it never works out that way. Like, I even tried it in, like, it was like a almost spellless Zoolock. This is going back a while, where the only spells in it were 2 Soulfires, and still somehow it ended up being a dead card more often than not, where it was like I would need to play my Soulfire, and of course, I had Lorewalker Cho on the board.
Right. Except with Zoo, you have ways to buff it. It's basically like a better Shield Bearer. Back when Zoo ran Shield Bearers.
Yeah.
Well, here we see 3 fireballs in the mage's hand, and he's sitting at 30 health, which is pretty comfortable. Do you think that we're going to see the druid have to heal? He has a lot of taunts, but at this point, he really doesn't have a way to get rid of the archmage.
I think pretty much if he doesn't... Because the thing with Archmage is if you can't deal with him, you essentially die. Because that's putting out 12 damage a turn just in fireballs at that point, plus whatever the minions are able to do as well.
You don't essentially die. You get hit with 2 fireballs every turn. You're pretty much just dead.
Yeah. It's kind of what I was getting at there.
Yeah, essentially. Fire doesn't care about taunt. You can just hit him for 12.
Yeah, that wall of taunt is not doing him any favors right now. Because just the fireballs would leave him at 5. Don't think he can... Yeah, he can't clear the taunt.
He'd ping the face probably also.
Yeah.
Clear the board, not die to combo. Opponent's at 4. You have 3 fireballs in hand. It's kind of hard to lose. Whoa.
We know that the mage would win going face, but he doesn't know that, and he's afraid of combo. He is playing Spark, even though from our perspective, we know that he could have the game 1 and 2 in the next round.
Is he going to kill the Sneeds, though? That's what I want to see here.
I would like to, because I'm really curious what's going to pop out of it, but I don't think he is that curious.
100%. 100%. Totally. It's going to be Kel'Thuzad.
Oh, wow. This is a huge gamble.
Gonna kill the 3-1? Okay, that makes way more sense.
That makes a lot more sense.
If it were Kel'Thuzad, everything that he spent his whole turn killing would have just been resummoned.
Yeah, and that would just been
Not just that,
crushing.
the legendary that came out of that would essentially have charged because it would be able to attack the following turn.
Unless it's Ragnaros or Nat Pagle or Lore Walker Cho.
And the Kel'Thuzad would resurrect the Sneeds as well there.
Yes, that would be absolutely terrible.
But, so, here we're looking at... It's basically the same thing we were looking at last turn, where he's staring down the barrel of all those fireballs.
He's a lot healthier than he should have been.
Yeah.
But still,
Well, it was a smart play on Conrad's part, just because you have to assume by turn, I don't know what this is, but 12 or 13, that the combo is there.
right.
Yeah, and have we seen, I don't think we've seen either piece of the combo. So, we don't know
We haven't.
for sure. He may not even have it.
Oh, he has to have at least one copy of it. I'm not going to believe that he has none.
I have seen some...
I believe he doesn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen some of these really late game druids with Sneeds and some of the other big legendaries and a lot of taunt that actually have gotten rid of the combo.
You just play a deck that has all kinds of value in late game threats, and the whole game your opponent is playing around 14 damage dealing, plus more if you have board combo, and they're playing terribly just because they have to play around it, so it works.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind game thing. Like, if you've seen the shaman deck that Firebat, the purple drank, that shaman, it runs no lightning storms, no hexes, but as a
Whoa.
shaman, everyone is assuming that you're always sitting on hexes and lightning storms in your hand, and like Alex said, it just tends to lead to people playing poorly.
Well, it's working so far because Conrad is clearly playing around the combo that's not there.
Yeah, and it looks like he's probably going to lose his Archmage right here. But he has enough damage in hand to finish him off. So it's really not going to be relevant, I don't think.
Not right away, so he still has a turn.
This
go
has to be a heal.
second heal.
But he has enough damage in hand to do it within 2 turns.
I expected an Innervate hero power for the 1 health.
Yeah, because at this point on turn 10, what is he really going to do with that Innervate?
I guess with 2 cards in hand, you keep your opponent thinking about combo. If you use it, then your opponent doesn't play around it anymore.
I was thinking that as well, that he may just be bluffing it as something else, because he doesn't want to give away what he's
This is
holding.
totally a Savage Roar.
Oh, and the Innervate hero power would play around Frostbolt, so I personally would do it. Because a Frostbolt would be lethal.
Well played.
Yeah, and that's going to be it here.
Didn't get
But
the
that's it
ancient
for game 1. Now I'm really curious if he has the combo, just didn't draw it, or is it just the threat of the combo being there, maybe.
I'm going to go with that he probably doesn't have it, seeing that the Cenarius is in there as well.
Actually, I think I got down to fatigue against that guy. I'm not sure if it was against the druid, but I think it was. I don't really remember. That was too long ago, like 30 minutes. But yeah, I don't think he has combo because I think I saw almost every card in the deck.
Okay, yeah, and it didn't look like it, so we'll see. Actually, the Druid's out now because this is the Conquest format, so we won't be seeing that again. I'm so used to the old format where we see the winning decks multiple times. So, what do
Yes,
you
but
think?
The Druid lost, so the Druid is still there for a Gemma.
Yes, you're correct.
It is confusing.
It is.
I love the format, but it does take some getting used to. So we won't see the Mech Mage again, but we don't have to, but we can see the Druid again.
Yeah. So, what is the other decks that he had besides the mage?
Talking about Jimber?
Yes.
Yes, he has. Jimber has Druid, Mage, and a Warrior.
Yeah.
And Conrad has a Paladin, Druid, and Mage. You can't use the Mage anymore, so it's going to be a Druid or Paladin now.
Because I did see Jimber playing his warrior earlier, and it's a very traditional control warrior. Do you think
Jimber's gonna go with Mech Mage probably.
to face against Paladin or Druid? I think that is because you look at I was reading an article, and they were saying that this format, it makes your picks a little more complex because you have to look at what you have left versus what your opponent has left.
Mm-hmm.
And
You don't know what you're facing. At no point, there's always at least 2 decks you can be facing.
all right, they are getting into it here, so let's jump right back into this.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I lied. The last game, if you already got rid of all of your opponent's deck but one, you know what you're facing. But in every other scenario, there's at least 2 decks that your opponent can have.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's always a mind game.
Okay, so
There's Jones. So useful.
we are going to see the Druid again.
I think you keep Aldor Peacekeeper in the mulligan because it's so good against Druid. Oh, never mind. He already mulliganed before, right? He didn't keep Harrison against Druid, right?
No, there's no way.
Okay, so I just got in late on spectator mode.
Well, Harrison isn't terrible. A 5/4 for 5 is not terrible. It's not what you want,
It's not
but
mulligan.
it's not a dead card.
It's not mulligan worthy, for sure.
Oh no, absolutely not.
It's like Booty Bay Bodyguard that plays around the Black Knight.
Yeah.
So
So the Paladin already put out Knife Juggler, which right now isn't that huge of a threat, but you have to get rid of it because you have to be afraid of that muster.
yeah, especially when they're going to be on exactly 3 mana the next turn, you kind of feel like it's a setup. But he's not going to trade.
Yeah, and honestly, I like not trading there because it's only 3 knives that are coming out of it, and all 3 of his minions are 3 health. So the 3 knives probably weren't going to kill anything.
They would certainly help the trading, though. The 2/3 would be able to trade with something and still survive.
That is a good point there.
The Paladin did draw the Quartermaster, which that is a dead card right now. So his 5-drops, 2 out of the 3 5-drops that he's holding are not really cards you want to play.
This is a coin swipe right there. Definitely.
And he's holding 3 5-drops going into turn 4, so it's not looking too good for the Paladin.
No, I'm pretty sure the Paladin just lost with that swipe. That's some pretty good value on that.
Oh, a full heal and clearing the board, that was an excellent turn for Jimber.
Does he have to Aldor? I think you hear Power Pass, yeah.
I believe so. Aldor is too precious, knowing how late game heavy the Druid is.
Yep. This Druid can just be patient, accumulate cards, make the Shade all big, and then turn 6, innervate the Shredder.
Okay, so he did pop the Shade out here, so we probably will see the Aldor coming down. But that's another thing where it doesn't feel good to do, because that Shade, if you can't kill it, it's just going to continue growing.
Yeah, it's a temporary solution.
Yeah, it's kind of, just playing not to lose, to coin the popular term there.
But what else can you do? You can play the Belcher, which really isn't that good, because it just dies to what's on board. You can play the Shredder, which is okay.
Yeah, because the Shredder is probably his best option here, I think.
The 1 in 100 to get Doomsayer is what he's going for here.
Is that the odds, 1 in 100?
I think I heard somewhere that it is 1 in 100, but you probably shouldn't quote me because now I'm remembering. I think my source was Rainad. So
Well, if it's Raynad, if he has the board, I'm sure the chance is 100 and 100 that Doomsayer is going to come
exactly. So it's a little bit messed up statistics because it has a sample size of like 1. So don't quote me on that, but I think it's 1 out of 100.
And I swear the random creatures here, they're not quite random. Because it seems like things like Doomsayers and just, bizarre creatures that you wouldn't expect come out a lot more often than they statistically should.
Well, he got a terrible one.
Yeah, the Murloc without the battle cry is about as worse as you can do for a 2-drop there, a 2/1 that essentially dies to everything.
If he plays Lotheb, the opponent can't innervate Sneeds, and they have no other good-looking play. Black Knight on no taunt looks bad, and Keeper with no silence target looks bad. We'll see if he
Yes,
plays Lotheb.
but considering Conrad is not seeing Jimber's hand, that's not something he's going to play around.
Yeah, he's probably saving it so that he can easily play around combo, although he hasn't seen it yet. Lotheb is such an easy way to play around combo. You don't actually have to taunt up and clear the board, you can just Lotheb.
And that was such a poor play. He had no better option, but it was just...
Yeah, but in the sense that Harrison, you could sit on it forever against a druid because he's never going to have a weapon. At least he's putting a body out onto the board.
Oh, it was one of his better options, but it still wasn't great.
Yeah, and here comes the Sneeds.
And that 7 damage is pretty significant because Paladins don't run as much heals as they used to.
Yeah, they've definitely, I think, since GVG become more of a mid-range aggro-y deck, I think.
They've gotten a lot of better cards,
Well,
so
that's a given.
Yeah, they can actually fight other decks now. They don't have to hide behind their Equality Consecrate and heal up after. They don't have to cower behind. They can be on the aggressive now.
Well, they got a lot of good early game cards. That's what Paladin was really lacking.
Seal of Light for the win.
That's one of the ones.
Maybe, but I was referring to the shielded Unibot here.
Nah, Seal of Light, the best.
The Peacekeeper here kind of takes care of the Shredder, but what after that?
Minibot Hero Power.
Yeah, that's what I would go with as well.
That's my play, also. Ooh, that's quite a top deck.
That is an excellent top deck. That will let him dig deeper into that deck.
Get more options, because his hand isn't looking good. Black Knight to counter a Belcher, but right now nothing in his hand actually does that much. Great, active cards.
Yes, those are very good cards to pull out.
Ooh, Coghammer.
Coghammer's a nice pull here, I think.
Yeah, it fits perfectly into the curve of 3/5 drops in the hand.
Yeah, and it also helps him protect his board a little bit, or protect his face, rather, you should say.
He's hoping to get Divine Shield on the 3/3. He gets it.
And he did.
And I'm assuming Lotheb, just because it's a better body.
It's a better body. It's a bigger threat. I agree. I know you usually want to keep it against combo, but he realizes he's behind. He needs to get that
He hit the face with the weapon. That's interesting. Does he have a lot of weapons to draw into?
And that's what I was gonna assume that he's going with. Yeah, we know he has 2 troll silvers because every paladin has that.
And 1 cog hammer, and of course muster for battle. So.
And I assume he's gonna have Tyrion somewhere in the deck too.
True.
You don't
So
want to have a
there's
Tyrion when you.
quite a few reasons to hit with the weapon.
You don't want to have a weapon when you play Tyrion.
Yep.
Yeah, because the cog hammer too, it's a 3-charge weapon, so that's 3 turns to get the full value out of it. So I don't really disagree with him swinging for face there, especially with him being behind on the health. So he needs to do something to start catching up.
Black Knight value.
Well, that Belcher just got a lot better.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Ooh, Tyrion just got better also. Except Keeper of the Grove.
Yeah, but then we come back again to that you can't really play around knowing what's in the opponent's hand like we do when we're looking at both sides of the board.
Well, you kind of can. A druid that's been holding cards all game and they're so far into their deck and every druid in the game runs 2, you can kind of assume Keeper's there.
Well, also, when you play Tyrion, you know it's going to be dealt with. And silence is actually what you want the opponent to use because it still leaves you with a 6/6 body.
Yeah. Makes
It's
sense.
great when you get full effect of it and you get the weapon, but really, there's going to be an answer for him 90% of the time. And this is still not bad, like I said. He has a 6/6 body.
So this is gonna get Kel'Thuzad, right? Oh, even better.
Huh.
I love
Look at
this
that.
game.
Wow. I think that about seals it for the paladin there.
Yeah. A well-played comes out. That might be a concede also. Like, are you really gonna take 9 to do the only way you can actually clear Mal'Ganis? Seems
Well-
like you would need a BGH.
A Consecrate could do it too with trading Tyrion into it.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, I was going to say not behind that Belcher now, though.
Nope. I think that's a concede. Because that's gonna hit you in the face. There's no way to play around that. I guess you could Belcher, never mind. I lied.
And the Belcher's kind of just buying him another turn.
Yeah,
Because
maybe
between Mal'Ganis and the Keeper,
Cenarius coming out on a Mal'Ganis board. You can hide it behind Taunt or buff it. It's
Yeah,
looking good for the Druid for sure.
yeah, this is definitely an ugly place for this Paladin to be with the 2 Quartermasters in hand and only the 1 token that he just made. We haven't seen
This game
either
is
of...
pretty much over from our view.
Yeah, we haven't seen either of his muster for battles, though.
With 2 Quartermasters in hand, he could probably use one.
Yeah, and that's actually why I like how some of the Paladin decks have been going down to 1 Quartermaster. Because I feel like it's one of those cards that can just get stuck in your hand sometimes. Because you never really want to play a 2/5 for 5 mana without the battle cry gaining you the effect.
It's worse than Mimiron's head.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrible for its cost if you do that. And
Yeah.
like you end in a situation here where you're sitting on 2 of those. I mean, an Azure Drake or something else could be miles and miles better.
But also, there's like almost every game you're begging for a Quartermaster when you have the board of a bunch of 1/1s, and then you cry about how you don't get it. When you could just go for maximum consistency, have Quartermaster when I need it. But it's one of those hard calls for card games in general.
Yeah, it's a give or take type of thing where you by keeping it you gain in a certain aspect, and by taking it out you gain in another way.
Yeah. As long as you're replacing it with a decent card and not Wisp, you should be fine taking it out.
Yeah, because like
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is just going from bad to worse. And we'll probably see Mal'Ganis kill the Dr. Boom and just get reincarnated. Well, nope, he's not going to go for that play.
Get stolen. Nah. Darn, I wanted to see that. He's very much dead.
Yeah.
Oh, no fun. I so would have reincarnated that Mal'Ganis.
Very,
Kel'Thuzad?
very much dead. I like that.
Yeah, my
Okay.
line.
So
he is
the
dead.
remaining decks here we're looking at, we've seen the Druid and Mage, right?
Yes, we've seen Jimber win with the Druid, so he has a Mage and a Warrior left. And we've seen Conrad win with his Mage, so he has Paladin and Druid left. So he either replays the Paladin now, or plays a Druid, and Jimber has the option of either going to a Mage or a Warrior.
That's a tough call because the Paladin really doesn't have a good matchup against a Mage, but the Paladin's matchup against a Warrior is excellent.
I would never go with Warrior when there's a Druid looming over you. So I think you just go with the solid Mage that can win against Warrior and Paladin.
I agree. The Mage has a better matchup against either one.
Yeah, so I think it's Mage for sure. Which I believe his Mage is a Mech Mage, right?
No, Mech Mage, I never would have guessed that. I mean,
Hey, I ran Giant's Mage and I made it really far.
And Freeze Mage is really popular now as well, so
I
it can
think
be,
Freeze
can
Mage
be
was
any
a
of them.
terrible choice for this tournament though, because especially if you lead with it, if you happen to get a game taken off of you, your opponent gets to switch their deck. They might switch into a deck that has a Keys and Mystic, and by that point, you've just lost the series.
I wouldn't lead with it, but it's
Yeah,
not bad to
well.
have as a tool.
Somebody led with it against me, and it was a terrible decision.
Well, they're queuing up now, so we'll see what choices they made.
Yep, Mage.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be out for a second because my Hearthstone crashed. I'm going to have to restart it.
Alright,
okay, so it's going to be the Mage and the Druid. Conrad's Druid was the one that we saw from the first game, correct?
I think so. My memory is bad. I don't know. This format is confusing. It's hard to keep track of what decks people played because there's no logical reasoning. Like, it's not like you lost and kept or you lost and you had to change, or you win, you kept it.
I mean,
different.
It is a logical reasoning. I mean, I think it's just our brains are so programmed at this point to think about it the exact opposite way that we kind of get confused.
I played in a series where I lost a game and I changed decks and I had to redo it. And I also, right in the next game, I won and I forgot to change. So it's messing with my head for sure.
Yeah. And this, we definitely didn't see this Druid yet because this is a combo Druid. I see the Savage Roar there.
Yes, we've only seen the Druid from Jimber's side, so this is the first time we're seeing the Druid from Conrad's side, and he already has the combo.
The dream opener for the Mech Mage with really no answer.
Yes, Snow Chugger is not as good as it is against typical weapons classes, but it still shuts down the Druid's hero power.
Which is good, I think, in a way, especially as like a Mech Mage where you play a lot of minions that are on the smaller side, where the Druid may be able to, say, like, swipe something, leave some things at 1 health. It removes that option of him being able to just use the hero power as a ping to finish it off.
Mm-hmm. I don't know
Yes,
what.
it's definitely a great tool. It's, like I said, it's not as great as it is against weapon classes, but it's still great.
What is there to consider?
Whose turn are we on here? Because,
I think spectator mode.
yeah, I think
Well, I'm seeing the same thing,
Stuff.
so I'm not sure if it's us.
Because I'm pretty sure there were no other plays there. I'm restarting spectator mode to see if we fell behind.
Yeah, I think it may have glitched out because they're both emoting to each other, and on my stream it shows both of them on the enemy's top. There it goes.
Whoa! Wasn't it just the mage's turn? And they played nothing?
They're both tapping to me right now, so they are having issues.
Oh, it was a... Oh my gosh, Mimiron's head. I'm in love with this deck. This looks exactly like the deck that I had. This guy's cool.
It may have been a disconnect there.
I think it was. And that's rather unfortunate because it was the Dream opener, the Dream turn 3 play, with the Dream turn 4 follow-up, and he was not able to do it. Do we need to replay the game?
Well, I'm talking to them right now. Let me figure this out.
Alright.
Yeah, that's the one thing it's unfortunate with Hearthstone being an online game, that there's situations like this sometimes beyond the control of anyone involved, where it just someone gets DDoSed or disconnected. And it can completely, a game that's already been started, and it's not like a tabletop card game where you can just say, okay, we're going to recreate the situation where it was before.
Yeah.
Since you're
There's
constrained
constraints.
by the limitations of the software, it's really not an option to do that.
Which is one of the biggest points used against Hearthstone as a game.
As a viable card game, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's got so
I
many
love-
strong points too, though. Like,
It's a revolutionary game.
yeah, because I mean, you figure, like, if you're looking at playing another CCG type game, it's not like you can just go sit down in your room, press a button, and have somebody show up ready to play at any
Right.
given moment of any time of day. It's
You don't actually need friends if you're a Hearthstone player.
That
to
sounds
play.
so terrible.
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's a good selling point on how to put it.
It is a selling point.
Okay, well, I talked to both of them, and what happened is that Jimber bugged out somehow to where he had to skip a turn. He wasn't able to do anything. But he said it kind of fixed himself, and Conrad gave him the option of restarting the game, but Jimber said no, he wants to go along with it. So they're just
Okay.
going to continue from where we are now.
Cool.
All right.
That was odd. I've never seen that happen before.
What to do?
Yeah, because on my end, from where I'm spectating both games, it, like, they essentially said on both sides that it was the other player's turn. It was like the turn just got lost and never gave him the chance to play. So here we're looking at,
What to do?
we're on Jimber's turn again now, and he's on 6 mana? 'Cause,
Okay, Jimber said that he can't select some of his cards.
yeah, because how I'm looking at it, one of his cards is actually moved over where the mana tray is.
Lots of technical difficulties.
Okay, so they're going to replay the game, or where are they going with it from here?
Yes, just replay the game.
Okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate, because like you said, Alex, he had really the dream opener right there.
Yeah, he definitely did.
And I think that would actually be the first time I've ever seen Mimron's head come to its full effect if he would have gotten that off there.
I actually play a deck that may be bad, but I think it's really fun. It's a mech mage, but it runs Echo of Medivh, plus a bunch of mechs and Mimiron's head. That way you're able to copy all your cheap stuff, play it again, and your more likely to have mechs out for Mimiron's head.
And
Now,
go.
I didn't see because I was talking to them trying to figure it out, but did he actually play the card?
The Mimron's head? You're referring to the Mimron's head?
Yes.
No, it never came out of his hand. But no, I don't know, that may have been one of the cards that was stuck, because like I said, from where I was my side spectating it, it looked like his whole hand had shifted to the right over by his mana tray. It was very strange.
To me, it just looked like a player that didn't know what to play, that was moving himself. Everything was normal except the fact that he wasn't doing anything.
All right, so it
He
looks
said
like,
that he saw his cards, he just wasn't able to select them.
That's never happened to me before.
all right, so it looks like they're getting ready to get back into the game.
Conrad got confused and challenged me to a duel, so this got very interesting.
Okay, so now we're hosting Bullock versus
Versus Conrad.
This is Conrad.
Comrade. That would be fun. Plot twist.
Yeah.
The casters are now part of the tournament.
Are they having issues getting into the game, or they're just still queuing up for it?
It looks like they're queuing up. It looks like it's okay now.
Yeah, because I'm still not seeing them entering into the game.
Same.
Technical difficulties. It's a wonderful night, isn't it?
It's great.
I knew I should have just stayed home.
Aren't you still home?
Yeah, stayed home, with my no friends from the whole, like you said, I don't need friends to play Hearthstone. I could sit in my house.
Yeah. You just queue up and someone else that is unfortunate not to have friends.
Someone that's equally as miserable as me.
Why are we making fun of Hearthstone players when we are some of the geekiest Hearthstone players there are?
See, we're allowed to, because we're part
Yeah,
of...
that's true. It's like you're allowed to make fun of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. We're part of the group, so we can abuse ourselves just as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any word from them, Yaskier, on what's going on with getting into the match?
It seemed like it's issues on Jimber's side because Conrad said he's queuing up.
Yeah, because I don't see either of them right now entering into the game. Okay, there it goes. Just popped up.
Okay, hopefully we'll be able to continue with this series.
We need to have things set up for commercial breaks.
Little dancing bear to come up and some music. Something
Get right on
exciting.
that.
Yeah.
Dancing bears. That's what sells.
Dancing bears sell everything, or dancing babies.
Yeah. Or dancing bear babies.
Exactly.
Those are called cubs, by the way.
Thanks.
So it looks like a pretty good opening hand for the mech mage here, I would say. I mean, he's got a very solid curve right there.
Sadly, it actually looks like it's all just gonna die. If he uses the hero power and then he wraths the Snow Chugger on turn 2, and he doesn't go for Harvest Golem instead of Snow Chugger, then he won't have something on board for Tinker Town Technician.
So we're going to see here what he goes with.
Play around a Wrath, or go for the play that keeps coin, fits the curve, and shuts down hero power.
I would probably, if I was in this situation, I would probably lean towards Harvest Golem.
I would lean towards the Snow Chugger, just because it fits the curve. You want to keep coin for Antonitis in the perfect situation. I just value the coin a bit.
And also, if Snow Chugger, if he decides to get rid of Snow Chugger with a hero power, which he's obviously not, then it freezes him for 2 turns.
Hmm. Oh, and also, if they spend their whole turn 3 going for Wrath instead of Wild Growth, then you're happy. It actually turns out that they're going to choose Wild Growth instead.
Yeah, because that opens him up now that he has the Druid of the Claw for his following turn.
Hmm. But he's going to be frozen. And benefits of having a mech on the board.
Though the Blast Mage hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, this is all from the bird's eye view of things, but
It's hard to cast a game because you have to keep in mind that the players don't actually know everything.
That taunt is actually pretty strong against a Mech Mage.
Hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if they frostbolted it and forgot about it. Just deal with it later.
Well, you have to get past it somehow, so.
Yeah.
he's accumulating a lot of spells in his hand if you look at it,
Yeah, this is quite a bit, actually.
to where he can, if he gets Archmage down, he could end this very quickly.
I think the main problem with Mech Mage is actually drawing Antonidas, because Mech Mage doesn't really play card draw. You see a few Azure Drakes, but really no cycling. So actually drawing the 1 card out of 30 that you need to get a bunch of fireballs is quite tough.
Though
He's lucky enough to get it, though.
it's not as though the deck can't win without
Right.
Archmage.
It can
though.
definitely win without it. It's just that a lot of the time it's your only out situations.
Yeah, especially in the more controlling matchups that go long, end up requiring it to be able to finish it off.
And Druid. I guess Druid counts as control.
Yeah, that's I said Control E.
They're
Maybe
basically first nowadays.
Oh, this swipe is going to be so good now with the Wrath.
Yeah. Sure.
Full clear.
Followed by Ancient of Lore. Pretty good. The mana advantage is quite important. Hmm.
And also, the later the game goes, the more it favors Druid, considering that they're both basically at full health.
Yeah. What is he saving the Flame Tongue Totem for? I guess the fact that it's just 1 mana can't be silenced if you play it out of your hand. Or 0 mana.
yeah, and to play it down right there, it wouldn't really have done anything.
Yeah.
And I know, as like from playing as a shaman, you never really want to play a Flame Tongue Totem unless it's activating something at the time you're playing it.
It's too easy to get rid of. You need to play the turn where it's going to be used.
So, hero power? Ooh, face. Interesting. Hmm.
He's probably looking at it like in the sense that he's going to get outpaced by the Druid.
Yeah.
So he needs to get in as much damage as he can before the taunts start coming out,
Yeah.
and just hope that he gets enough from the Archmage to be able to finish it before the Druid overruns him.
That's quite a swing turn right there, though.
Yeah, because that essentially invalidates all of his smaller minions here. With the Belcher and the Lotheb, he can't even try to use any of his spells if
Yeah.
he were to want to do that to break through it.
And that's a considerable amount of damage on the Druid side.
Shredder was a pretty good draw. There's not a lot of big things, so... And he needed a big thing. Now, step 2 is Doomsayer.
always comes back to the dream, right?
Yeah, the tree.
Well, on Conrad's side, to be honest, I would just push for damage.
Hmm. Yeah, you don't want to spend time killing a shredder because they just get another minion out of it. If
And
you have
he has another taunt in hand and probably a lot more in the deck to draw.
yeah.
Pushing 10 damage a turn is gonna wear the mage down really fast.
So just going for pure damage, he doesn't expect to ever get past the taunt and deal damage with minions,
And
which is fair to say.
yeah, I think that's honestly not that unrealistic of a way for him to be looking at the matchup right now, though. Because you look at a druid like this with the Belchers, he knows there's a second Belcher somewhere in the deck. There's probably Ancient of Wars, which is, that's 10 health as a taunt right there. There's the second Druid of the Claw. Some of these versions run Tazdingos. I don't think I saw them in this one. But it's just a massive amount of taunt to break through without, like, Polymorph or Black Knight or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And mech mages do tend to run out of cards, run out of steam. And if he was paying attention, he knows that there's one spare part in the mage's hand, so he effectively only has 3 cards right now.
Good way to look at it.
Of course, the spare part is an activator for Archmage, but it really doesn't do anything on its own. It's half a card.
Dr. Boom has a desperate attempt to take back the board before he goes for his winning play of Archmage Frostbolt. It makes sense, because if you play Archmage and get fireballs but you don't have board, you're still just going to lose.
What to do?
Well, with the board as it is right now, the Druid has lethal. So Jimmer has to clear something.
And he did.
Which it's still only 4 damage off lethal right now for the Druid.
Azure Drake for draw. Dr. Boom basically seals it, though. I mean, those boombots will either take back board for you or deal 4 to the face.
That does look like what we're going to see right here is the Dr. Boom.
It's just impossible to come back from that board.
Yeah, Conrad is just too far ahead at this point.
Yep. If he played Flame Strike, it would be a maybe.
Yeah, we don't see Flame Strike too often in the mech mages anymore. In like the earlier versions that was popular, but it seems like they've gotten more aggressive, especially with Hunter not being as prevalent now. I feel like mech mage has become the most prevalent aggro deck that you really see.
I think Flame Strike is probably like the 38th card that you would add to Mech Mage. There's just quite a few options in front of it.
38.
It would be a good surprise card, but I really don't see a way to justify a slot.
I've been messing around with quite a few different versions of Mech Mage, and a lot of different versions work with a lot of different cards.
Speaking of, this is slightly off topic, but this game is almost sealed. What do you think of Reynad's version with Blingtron?
I think it's beautiful and that it works really well. Does it play water elementals?
Yes.
Yeah.
He has all 4 freezes there. Or all 4 minions that freeze. There's more freeze than that.
Because they're just never going to hit with their weapons if you have 2 water elementals, 2 snow chuggers. So that Blingtron is just Battlecry, give yourself a weapon.
Yes, I'm quite fond of it as well. I personally don't own Blingtron yet, so I wasn't able to test it, but I'm really tempted to craft Blingtron just for that deck.
How long ago was that? Or how recent is it?
I think he played it in Battle of the Best. That's what he won Battle of the Best with.
How long ago was that?
Just a week ago or so.
Okay, because about that time, not knowing that Reynad was doing that, I was gonna bring up the idea to you guys. My head.
Okay, so with the back to the topic,
Yeah.
this series ended just like we predicted. So the only deck that Conrad has, excuse me, yes, good, that Conrad has left is the Paladin, and Jimber has the option of playing either his Warrior that we haven't seen yet, or his Mage.
And against the Paladin, I like the Mage as his choice.
I think you bring out Warrior, because you can lose a game, right?
No, if
No,
he
no, if
loses,
he loses,
that's
this is it.
This is it. Okay, never mind. Go Mage.
Yeah, and he
I like the odds of Mage as well.
I was thinking if you had one more game, then you would gain information with the Warrior, maybe win, and then go final game with Mage and try to win it. But if it's your final game, I think you go with the solid deck.
I agree with your logic, but considering that this is match point for him, I would go with the Mage.
Yep, definitely.
Well, they're queuing up, so we'll see what he went with. We pretty much already know what Jimber's Paladin looks like. Oh, interesting. He went with the Druid. That is incorrect.
You can't? Was he the winner of the last game?
He won the first game with the Druid.
You're not allowed to switch back to a deck that you won with earlier?
Yeah, it's
Negative.
Yeah, it's once you've won with a deck, that deck is out for the rest of the series.
Then one of my opponents broke the rules, but it's fine because I won anyway. And it was actually probably the best single game of Hearthstone I've ever played. So
Yeah, I don't believe that Jimber was cheating here. It's people are not familiar with the format just yet.
yeah, for sure.
I believe we're actually the first tournament to run this format.
It's hard to cast. I can't keep track of it.
All right. So they're getting right back into it, I assume?
Yeah, they're getting right back into it. Which for Conrad really doesn't make a difference here because he has to play that one deck that he has left. And
Yeah.
It's on Jimber to pick one of the two.
So it's going to be either Warrior or Mage. Like you guys said, I'm expecting the Mage.
It would be very risky to see him pull out the Warrior here.
Okay, so they are ready. They're starting up now.
I'm really interested to see if this format will become standard here for tournaments going forward. I like it way better than what we had so far, so I really hope so.
It's
And it is the Warrior, very interesting.
This is gonna be fun. That double shield made it. I can take a hit.
Well, he will take a hit, so we'll see if he can make enough hits.
Yeah.
We already see the Juggler Muster for Battle in Conrad's hand.
And the Zombie Chow, it doesn't really do much against the Warrior as an opener, but it's probably the only one drop he's running.
Well, the thing that it does is get rid of that turn 2 armor and turn 3 armor potentially, making a lot of his spells less effective. Well, not a lot of his spells, but Chill Slam less effective.
Armor pass, that's so bad. Muster for Battle seems like it's coming out.
Coghammer, interesting. So he's trying to rush the Warrior down.
And play around Whirlwind, I guess. If you were going for the full YOLO rush, I think Muster for Battle was definitely the better play. He's conservative right now, I think.
Yeah, I would say that is the safer play there. because of, like you said, Whirlwind, and he's not holding a Quartermaster, so
I think
it's
it's
not
the
as though he
that
can buff them up.
he's happiest with.
So what would you do on the warrior side? You have to start reacting. You can't just let this board sit.
I guess
That feels so terrible. I do believe it's correct, but it can't feel good.
it doesn't feel good just watching it. So now the warrior is going to top deck Blood Knight.
It's the top end tech card these days, huh?
Yeah. He did bring it out against a paladin, which is kind of an odd choice, we thought. So, maybe?
I really haven't seen anything in this warrior deck so far that would lead me to believe that it's much anything different from a standard control warrior.
Well, there's certain cards that you just play, regardless of what it's tech to.
Oh, and speaking of how confusing the format is, we were both wrong, or all three of us were wrong.
Cool.
If Jimber loses this game, he still has... Never mind, I just confused myself. I'll shut up now.
Was I right? He still has a game?
No, he does not, because that would mean that Conrad won with all three of his games.
With all three of his heroes.
All three of his decks.
Okay. This is quite confusing. Oh, right, because not having decks left means that you've been winning more, not that you've been losing more.
This is just completely reversed to what we're used to.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And this match has really been very one-sided so far.
Yeah,
In
it's been a bad draw, honestly, for the Warrior.
Yeah, because...
But to be honest, this was to be expected. I really was expecting that Mech Mage to come out and not the Warrior. The Warrior really needs a very good draw early. He needs those fiery war axes and to swing this, and he just doesn't have it.
He can clear the Lotheb while putting a minion on board and armoring, and that might be enough to turn the game around. But it may also just be a Armorsmith brawl or something like that. Cruel Taskmaster, kill the 2-1 brawl. I'm not exactly sure.
I don't know if he would want to kill the 2-1
That's what I
before
was
the
just
brawl, because that's
Because
probably
it's-
the best option for him to come out of it on his opponent's side of the board.
Yeah. But it's also something on the opponent's side of the board. That's
Yeah.
why it's a confusing card. Do you want to kill the weak stuff so that there's a greater chance for your stuff to survive, or leave it alive so that their strong stuff doesn't survive? Okay.
Well, that's not bad for Jimber.
I think he coins Armorsmith. I think he can live with this and come back for sure.
Yeah, because by coining the Armorsmith, he's trying to get himself back into the game where he can start building up some armor, start building up that effective health. Plus, he'd also be enabling his shield slam to be able to hopefully do something against his opponent's board here.
That was a very good top deck on Conrad's side, though. Having Tyrion for next turn.
Yeah, especially with Sylvanas. Sylvanas basically guarantees that the board won't be that big. So having Tyrion out on an almost empty board is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this Gorehowl is just... It's not doing him much help here, I don't think, because his health is so low at this point that he can't really afford to be clearing things with his face.
And also, he'd give the opponent an Armorsmith.
Yeah.
A 1-2, but it's still giving them something.
Well, I think if he plays Gorehowl, he will have to run the Armorsmith into Sylvanas and then clear Sylvanas, which feels
that makes
terrible.
sense. I was thinking run into the Divine Shield because it looks like the better play, but maybe not giving them the Armorsmith is that important.
That makes muster for battle so much better.
Muster for batter.
There's really no good plays here.
He's gonna take a 50-50 on killing Sylvanas. Maybe he roped.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Muster Quartermaster. Better than Tyrion, probably.
At this point, I'd say so. He's already seen a brawl, and warriors usually don't run 2 brawls these days.
Wouldn't he want to kill the 5-5 with his 5-5 first? Because he was massing over minibot trading. Or is he just going face?
I think, well, if he does that, he's definitely going face.
Yeah. Each play makes sense. 5 to the
I'd
face.
actually like that more because he needs to push for damage. Jimber is the one that needs to stabilize.
Yeah.
And if he pushes for damage and plays the Muster for Battle Quartermaster combo, then he has a huge board again that Jimber has to deal with somehow.
I like trading with the 5-5 because you take away Armor Smith instead of giving him armor. It's now on your side, but maybe I'm too conservative. Not sure.
Well, both plays are good. I really like both plays here.
Mhm. Obviously, ending the turn with the Sylvanas on board makes you happy.
There was really no wrong play. At this point, I think he's so far ahead that he wins either way.
Yeah. He would need a brawl top deck, second brawl.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think anything short of a second brawl would have brought him back into it here.
He can survive, and then he can shield slam something.
Well, there's 14 damage on board, so he needs to make something to get his life total bigger.
So I guess he develops the Armor Smith and shield slams one of the 3/3s, and then hopefully Shield Maiden is enough by then to fight off the board. But that's not going to work because Tyrion's in the hand, and that's just a huge threat.
Surprised he's looking at the Armor Smith here. I would have thought...
Armor Smith is a slow card. You need it on the board for it to do something. Shield Maiden's effect is a battle cry, so maybe he was thinking that it was better to get out the slow card first, but...
Well, a Shield Maiden is a 2-for-1 in this scenario, if Conrad decides to trade, which he obviously won't.
Yes, Tyrion. Tyrion is like a 4-for-1. There's just nothing left.
Yeah, and I think this is pretty much game. You know, barring that magical second brawl we were just talking about.
Oh, Harrison.
And that is 2 cards for him that gives him
Like something?
the opportunity to just see if he can dig up anything.
Probably not, but maybe.
Well, he would have to dig up something that costs 1 mana, and that card doesn't exist. Oh, I'm looking at this wrong, sorry. I'm watching on a tablet which has a very small screen. He'll have 4 mana left. But even with 4 mana, I don't think there's anything that saves him.
Slam into Crush. Does that work? No,
because he doesn't have a damage minion, so Crush would be 7 mana.
Well, I mean, if you slam your own minion, how much does Crush cost after it's been discounted?
4, so that would be too expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing.
So prep into Slam and Crush.
We're definitely getting creative here on this one. So, yeah, I believe this is game.
Yeah, this is over.
So congratulations to Conrad on taking 3rd place in our tournament this week.
After placing 2nd in ESL yesterday, that's a pretty good streak.
Yeah, he's definitely he's breaking out here.
And I
Okay.
don't believe Conrad was in top 4 before in our tournaments, but he was usually placing fairly high.
Yeah, so that'll wrap up the first of our two final matches. And I have to say, I enjoyed the format, even though it was a little bit confusing to follow.
Yeah.
But I think that'll come in time in terms of everyone getting used to it. We'll get a better grasp on it. But as far as like the balance and getting to see a lot of what both players had to offer, I think it definitely did a great job in that regard.
I would really like to see it again in future challenges. We'll try to get some feedback from the players, see how much the players liked it. But I'm really in love with the format.
I like it just because I haven't figured it out yet, and it's a challenge to figure it out.
Yeah, I really think there's a lot more depth to it than just
Definitely.
the last hero standing, because you have to really kind of try to figure out what your opponent's going to pick for what reasons against your list and what you have remaining. It's not so one-dimensional, I would say.
It
And you
used to
can't be a one-trick pony. You can't have one deck that you're really, really good with and try to win with that.
right. It used to be kind of rock paper scissors. Now it's seeming like a chess match for trying to figure out what to play.
That's a good analogy. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't winning the first game doesn't let you snowball from there.
Yeah. Unless you prepare well for everything, because then you're able to switch into something that's even better. But if you're
But
restricted
even
on
switching,
the
you don't know
decks,
what you're switching against. There's
that's
still
right. 'Cause they can
your
switch.
opponent still chooses decks.
So that fact right there that the loser can switch is what makes it difficult.
Okay, so I believe we're just going to take a couple minutes of a break here, and then we will be right back with the final match once we get everybody set up for that. So we'll be right back in a minute, guys.